So please could you tell us a little bit about your role as CEO?
So my role as CEO is very varied. Obviously, CEO of Harrogate Town Football Club, you would imagine you are doing a bit of everything. So really the role is all about bringing all the different sides of the club together so that the team are working collaboratively. So that's the football side and the operational side of the business. So so it's just making sure that we all communicate well and work well together towards the same goal.
Perfect. And what was it that made you want to work in football?
It's a good question. What made me want to work in football? It was actually what made me want to work more for Harrogate Town.
Yeah.
Love football anyway, so when the opportunity came up to work alongside Simon and Irvin, our chairman, I'd worked with Simon Weaver for many years in a previous role, so knew all about the values, the culture at the club, the ambition, and I share the same values and the same ambition, and can see the story of this club is immense. I mean, it's unbelievable where we've come from, and we haven't stopped yet, and it's really exciting to be part of that journey and just to see how far we could go. So that's what really inspired me.
So what would you say the most rewarding part of the role is?
What's the most rewarding part? I mean, there's so much. It's an exciting industry to work in. It's different to anything else that I've ever come across. I think it's being in the entertainment industry, quite honestly, and that's what it is. Seeing the joy on people's faces. So match days are magical. You know, you go around the stadium just before that anticipation, before we've even kicked the ball. Seeing everybody, the young children, the different generations, you've got groups of friends, families, they're choosing to spend their time with us on a, say, Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday night, and it's just bringing everyone together. We're like one big family, and you feel a real sense of belonging when you're part of a club, regardless of what that connection is. It's fantastic.
Have you faced any challenges or barriers working in football as a woman?
I have faced challenges working within the industry. I'm not sure whether it's because I'm a woman or not. I think that probably the most obvious stuff is sometimes you'll go to another football club. It doesn't happen here, I have to say, but sometimes you'll go to clubs and they'll do the old handshakes, and I won't get that. So I'm usually the first one to put my hand out, thinking, because I'm not a male. So that has actually happened. In fact, quite early on, I think it was my first away visit to another club, that happened, and I was astounded by it. Quite often you'll get dress codes through for what you're supposed to wear when you visit other clubs as directors, and 9 times out of 10 it's shirt and tie, and it's kind of, I don't wear, I know some women do, I don't wear shirt and tie, so it's just silly things really, and they don't offend me. But I do think a lot of clubs, particularly us, we're a modern club, things are starting to change, which is really good. But otherwise, no, I haven't really faced anything too challenging yet.
What advice would you give to young people, especially young girls, who are looking to build a career in the industry?
I think I've got 2 pieces of advice really. The first one is, and they're interlinked actually, the first one is to build and surround yourself with people you really trust, loyal, trusted colleagues, people that you can network with, get to know people within the industry. Certainly surround yourself in your own team with people that can support you, because it's a tough industry, certainly at a management level or all levels to work in. You know, you can have some fantastic days, but you can have some tough days, and you don't know everything, you don't know what you don't know. So what you need to be able to do is go, actually, I know somebody that can help me with that, or I'm having a bad day, I just need somebody to talk to that understands and can empathise with the same sort of job. So one of the first things I did before starting was LinkedIn is fantastic for this, so you can easily connect with people working with other clubs locally, and just make sure you've got those go-to people when you need them, because there's always something that'll crop up day to day where you're going, actually I'm not sure about that, but I know somebody who could probably help me, and it's good to have those connections. And I think linked with that, the second piece of advice I think I would give is is don't take things too personally. It can feel quite lonely at times. You know, you're making a lot of decisions. Football's a really passionate industry, so people care. Your biggest and most important stakeholders are your supporters, always, and they care passionately. And I love that, because without that, we wouldn't have any supporters. But on the downside of that is not everybody agrees with what you're doing as a club all the time. You can have 10 different opinions for the same thing, and sometimes it can feel quite personal if you're getting some feedback, let's put it that way. A lot goes on social media as well, and you have to really, I wouldn't say toughen up, because I don't think anyone should have to put up with anything like that, but I do think you have to be quite resilient, and that's the word. And actually you can cope with anything if you've got the right support network around you, so the two really go hand in hand.
So is there anyone who you sort of looked up to when you were building your career, either high profile or even within the club? Is there anyone who you sort of took advice from?
In terms of people who inspire me, I wouldn't necessarily say high profile people. I think anybody in leadership, and I say men or women actually, it's not just about, for me, it's not just females, although I remember going to my first EFL club meeting, so you have all 72 clubs represented at these meetings that happen probably 6 times a year or something. And I was probably, in fact I remember looking around the room and counting how many females were represented, and it was probably less than 10%. Now 2.5 years on, at the last meeting, it was double that. It was at least 20%. So it was really, really nice to see, and I'm inspired just by people that kind of have that vision, really, can see beyond the barriers and go, actually, just because Harrogate Town isn't the biggest club, it doesn't mean to say we can't be the best. So we aspire to, when I look at clubs who I think actually they're doing it right, they're role models. You could be in the Premiership, you could be in the Championship, you could be in League 2 or League 1. Or the National League, for me, it doesn't matter. I'm looking to those clubs and going, actually, they're doing that really well. How do we do that? How do we make that work for Harrogate? And that's been something that I've carried through all my career. And don't limit yourself just because you're not the biggest. Forget that. If you've got the best people in your team, you are capable of absolutely anything, and I really believe that.
So is there anything that any clubs are currently doing, or anything you think clubs should be doing, just to increase inclusivity in the sport, whether that's gender or any other characteristics?
I wouldn't single out any one club, because I think most of the clubs that within the EFL and the Premiership are working really well with their community foundation, which we are as well. So I don't think I would single one out. I think more generally the impact report that's come out recently from the EFL tells us what such an important and kind of positive impact that football can have. And quite honestly, sometimes the media coverage is quite negative around football, and all the good that we do is far outweighs that tiny percentage of negative. So I think in terms of inclusion in particular, which is obviously the theme of International Women's Day for this year, I think we as a club have learned, and I would say across the board, doesn't matter whether it's football or not football, is we need to open our eyes, we need to hear what people have to say, we have to listen, we have to ask the question in the first place. So what can we do, what more can we do to make you feel more included within our club? And we have to ask those questions, and then we have to listen, we have to take the advice, and then we have to act. And really kind of, if we do that, we do that more and more people speak up, because they go, actually, they've heard me there. Look what happened, they've made that change. That might benefit 10 people that come to match day or engage with us on social media. That's everything. That makes such a difference to that one individual or those handful of people. It's little things that we can do, but it makes a massive difference to them. So I think if we can get that sense of purpose and responsibility to travel across the whole team, So that's everybody on match day. You know, your car park attendants, our stewards, our turnstile operators, our bar teams, our kiosk staff, you know, hospitality, our directors. If everybody understands, as well as obviously the players, that little bit of respect and an understanding and empathy for everybody that is associated with this club makes such an important difference, and I think we're onto a good thing. We've still got more to do, but we're on our journey now, and yeah, that's what I would say. Just open your eyes and listen.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think I should have asked you?
It's a good question. What haven't you asked me? No, I think that kind of covers it really. I think I think it's an interesting topic, is this. I think the only thing that I would say about International Women's Day and what kind of we're focusing on the women rather than the male side, and actually I think I've probably had 5 male members of the team ask me if there's an International Men's Day when we've been talking and planning about what we're going to do to celebrate this day, which is quite interesting. And I would actually say, yeah, I get that. I think there is one actually.
I think it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. But for some reason, it's not quite on the radar. But, you know, I think we all understand why that is. But to be really inclusive, you have to include everybody's opinion, including men and women, everybody. So it's actually a bit of a contradiction in terms of the inclusion being the thread. So for me, why don't we include men in this and get their view on International Women's Day as well? Why not? So yeah, maybe around that. But no, it's been really enjoyable. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.